younger generation these days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. We don't stop, Paul.
Oh,
So,
I love that. Yeah,
are you feeling comfortable?
I am.
Then let's begin.
I've already done 4 interviews this morning for all the radio stations.
4?
4.
Goodness me. Well, thank you for saving some energy for us.
Absolutely. Anything for you. Well, you've been up speaking for an hour as well, so we've both nod off.
Yeah, I've been up with my girls since 5:30, and then I've gone out for incorporated the babies into my morning exercise. Pop on the heavy backpack full of weights, take the double pram up and down the hills. So that is 2 birds, 1 stone, and then read a bunch of stories until my mother-in-law is out there today. Rock on in here, and just 2 straight hours of just talking into a camera. So
that's cool,
we're all just doing our best out here, aren't we, Paul?
We are.
Let's start this monkey off. Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm very, very honoured indeed to be joined by Mr. Paul Wade. He is the ex-captain of the Australian national soccer team, the Socceroos, but we're going to call it football today because Paul and I are from England, and that's the right way to do it. He's also an Order of Australia medal recipient. He's a coach. He's a keynote speaker. He's an all-round Australian icon and a bloody nice guy. Paul, thank you for being here today.
Oh, Alex, with an introduction like that, it makes me nervous because now this expectation is up here, and I'm just keeping my head above waters. But thank you, anyway.
Head and shoulders above the rest, Paul. And from what you've told me this morning, you're down there in Melbourne, just helping your daughter out to run a business as well.
Yeah,
you're a man with 3 daughters. I'm a man with 2. How's it all going for you?
Oh, look, you know what? On Sunday, I turned 60.
Yeah,
I was so happy to get that seniors card. I am just going to go to town. I saw it at Donut King, 2 free donuts with a large coffee. I am straight down there. I'm going to be catching trains for no particular reason, just so I can do it with my seniors card. And my eldest daughter is just about to have a baby on the 29th of March. So how good is life?
This week,
Dad, with a seniors card, score. And if the Socceroos win against Japan and continue our path, it doesn't get better than that.
No, that is super exciting. Congratulations on the cheap donuts, mate. I'm really excited. And on that note, on the Socceroos, so we're 1.5 years away from the Matildas hosting the World Cup, right?
Yeah, well, 2023, we're
next year.
It's flown, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's flown from that moment we heard we were getting it to today, and knowing that it's next year, it's like, wow, really? And the World Cup of football at men's is on later this year. Wow, where's that 4 years gone as well? So,
yeah. I watched the last one. I watched the last one on my honeymoon. England? Oh, I wouldn't know. I don't look into it too much. After England's the European Cup final about a year ago, which was
that was bad.
Super tense, super stressful. I haven't looked into it too much. But the last World Cup, my wife and I watched that on our honeymoon, and we were in Italy. And so we were watching it in Italy, and England was in the semi-finals. And we said that if England gets to the finals, we're booking a ticket over to London to go and watch it at the pub with our mates. But they didn't. Nice. So we saved ourselves a trip there. So that was great. Paul, today, obviously you talk a lot about your football. You talk about a lot about your struggles, your epilepsy, a lot of things that have happened in your life. We do have a bit of a theme on this podcast, which is we're talking to coaches, people who run coaching businesses, which is a huge industry these days, but you've been in the coaching space and the leadership space for, longer than you probably care to remember. And so I think I'd love to just get some of your insights on these things, on leadership, on perseverance, on resilience. But also, I just love you to, weave some of your stories in there because I know you had a great life. And the first question I've got for you is, now that you're a keynote speaker, you've been coaching, you're out there on your own, just changing the world one speech at a time. For you, Paul, what's a more difficult day job? Leading the Australian national football team or running a coaching and speaking business?
when you're playing for your national team, it doesn't matter whether it's 85,000 people or 10,000 people. You feel nervous, but it's just noise and colour. And yeah, there's a level of expectation in all of that. Not too bad once you start kicking the ball, but when you're presenting to 15 people from the Defence Force who are on a course of leadership and have been to war, and you can see the colour of their eyes, that can be quite intimidating. So I've learned to be a bit of an extrovert and get through that barrier of, what are they thinking? What, am I saying the right things? Yeah, that can be more intimidating than playing for your country.
So you say you learned to be an extrovert. Does that mean you're quite an introverted guy naturally?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can stand up there in front of, like yesterday I did a gig at a school in Sydney in front of 170 year nines, which is a pretty tough audience.
Yeah.
But I can do that now because I've learned how to use my hands to talk, and because I feel confident in what I'm talking about, and I know that they don't know my story, it just lifts that confidence, and now I can do that. If I went into a room of former professional footballers, I wouldn't go around going, hey, how you going? I wouldn't stand in the corner, but you wouldn't know I was there. So I've learned over the years to become an extrovert.
Right. Yeah. That's a super interesting thing about, I suppose, running your own business now, isn't it? That you've got skills in certain areas, but some of them just you need to work on time after time, just speech after speech to nail them. Was there anything else that you found to be a really just dramatic shift when you went from playing to leading and coaching?
My transition was probably rare because there's a lot of experts out there, but being the Socceroo captain, you learn how to talk to a camera. That's why I'm looking straight down the lens and not at your face. Do you know what I mean? It's little things like that. I'm talking to you. That's why I look at that lens. Yes. So it's from that you start to become more comfortable with different questions and different scenarios of lights in a TV station, for example, and people you see on the TV who are talking all the time, and now they're personally asking you a question. So all the time, these little things are adding up to what now I do without even thinking, but it's because of those lessons, those experiences. It's like being an overnight success that's years in the making. It's like one of those terminologies. Do you know what I mean? It's so many lessons, but little ones that you've got to go through. The first time I did a speaking gig, just a side story, I used football shirts that I've swapped from all over the world as props. Because you can listen to some people so long and you get bored. And so I took my football shirts. And so I had the Maradona shirt and an England shirt and a Brazil shirt, and I was telling the stories, right? But when I first started, I was actually putting the shirt on, right? And I don't know why I was doing it, but I was putting it on. Anyway, with this Aussie strip, I'd forgotten to do the top or undo the top button. So that when I you can see it, when I put it on over my head, I'm like that in front. Fortunately, it was out in the sticks, but there were 500 people. I felt so embarrassed. It was awful. That was worse than scoring an own goal in an national team game. It was all so little lessons that you learn, but you have to learn those lessons. You have to go through that to be able to look down the lens of a camera and not at you and your face down there.
That's huge. And to be honest, that's a big tip for me as this podcast host, because if I'm making videos for myself, I'm constantly speaking into the camera. However, with you here, Paul, I want to look at you. So I'm going to work on that. I want to work on that. Oh, you're a handsome man and you know it. Have you ever scored an own goal in a national game?
I haven't scored an own goal. In fact, I didn't score one for us. I only scored 11. But there was one time where I'm standing there with my teammate trying to clear the ball out there, and I'm going, kick it. as far as you can. He kicked it straight into my head, right over his head and into the back of the net. Oh, we didn't speak for 3 games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He ended up being my best man, but yeah, right at that moment, kicking the ball into my head. So I scored an own goal. And the stats show Paul Wade, own goal.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And that's definitely something that happens a lot in business, right? In all teams taking that responsibility as the tip of the spear, like you were and you are now for your own business. And I am, a lot of the coaches listening, we are the tip of the spear. We're the last line of defense. No matter whose fault it was, it is always our fault. Did you subscribe to that style of ownership when you were the leader of Australia?
Yes, although, you know what? Here's another one for you. Who's the most important person in a football club? It's the person with the ball.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It's you might be the CEO or the coach or the assistant coach or the captain, but the most important person in that club is the person with the ball. So giving ownership to everybody, yeah. Does it land with me? I guess on the headline, it will be me. But with that, I'm not blaming anyone, but we've all got to take ownership. If we're all going to claim the glory of winning, then we've all got to take ownership of our little part of the picture. So I've never felt and never said that it's anyone else's fault, but I've never felt that it's all my fault. Because as soon as you start blaming yourself for 11 blokes out there who couldn't do their job, that's where in your mind you can start digging yourself a real hole that sometimes you can't get out of. So
yeah,
that's the way I look at it anyway.
Now, it's an interesting one, especially because you talk a lot about teamwork. As you build a team and you work with a team, that yes, as the leader or the boss or the CEO or whatever, or the coach, it is your responsibility to get everyone ready for their jobs. But without them taking some sort of ownership, then they probably will never do as good of a job as if they're really committed and feel accountable to the results. So let's talk about teamwork a little bit. I know that you do teamwork speeches for a lot of corporates and a lot of companies. Your soccer team's 11 guys on the field at one point. What's the extent of a soccer club or a football club? You know, everyone on the bench. How many people are we looking at? 30?
Yeah, 26. Yeah,
26.
Yeah.
Okay.
23 players, coaches, physios, doctors, hangers on, gear stewards. Yeah. But the 11 out on the park are probably the most important.
Okay, so you got 11 guys on a team, and one guy's messed up. One guy's made a really bad mistake. They've scored an own goal, and you're losing, and it's the 85th minute. As the coach, as the leader of that team, what do you do in those moments where it just feels so helpless?
As the coach sitting on the bench, not much. You can work on it all week in preparation for that game. There might be a few tactical changes, but at the end of the day, as a coach, and even though I'm commentating now, I never blame a coach and I never blame a referee for something that happens in the game. Because at the end of the day, you lot are the players.
Sure.
And again, it sounds like the blame game, but as a footballer, as being one of those players out there, I'm not looking to you to go, hey, Alex, now that they're winning the ball over here, just do your job. So many people go, he's the leader. He must make no, it's my job. I, as a captain, as a so-called leader, if I see things going wrong over here, righto, well, we can fix that by doing that. But you do that process so much quicker the more you play it, obviously.
Yeah.
It might mean you doing 2 jobs, but no specific job. Trying to support your players there, but keeping your eye on the player you're supposed to be marking. So, yeah, hey, my voice can travel further than my legs. So it was easy for me because I had a big mouth. When I was 13, the coach said to me, if you can't kick with both feet and talk, to your team, you're never going to make it. I never shut up from that moment on. So it was a real benefit for me.
That's a huge lesson, isn't it? Just communication, just checking in every day, especially in such a remote environment like we are now, when most people's teams would probably not be in the same room, sometimes not even the same state or country.
Yes.
Those check-ins.
And I always say, just stay connected, as you said, stay connected with their team. If you do something well, tell them. If they're achieving their goals, because I've always believed, if you think about business and football, sure, we've all got a goal to win the game, win the league, win the World Cup. But at the end of the day, 99.9% of us are going to fail. So what is it that keeps people motivated? It's the processes and that sense of progress that are the key to all of this. The processes of, when the ball's over here, we need to be doing that. When we win possession, we got to try and do that. It might change. We'll try and do that. And once we got beat 1-0, but all the things that we practiced on came good. And that's what the focus should be. We are getting so many of the processes right. The outcome wasn't what we wanted. We got beat 1-0 with the last minute with an own goal by Paul Wade, but everything else went okay. So let's focus on what went right, those processes. We are getting better, tick.
Yeah, okay, that's great. It was kind of a question I was about to ask you, and you've answered it really well. So you're sitting head in hands after a crushing defeat on an international scale, and you walk into the changing room and you've got 10 guys sitting there, all disappointed, all blaming themselves, and you're the captain, you're the leader. You've got to give them a speech so they go home and get some sleep that night. What do you say?
Do you want to know what I said when I was coaching?
Sure.
And I learned this because another coach, when I was playing, did the same thing. He would have, say, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, before a game, after the game. Shut up. Stop, keep talking. Write down, and I hate it when I see coaches screaming and shouting, especially in junior football. Johnny, do this. Alex, what are you doing over there? Get a piece of paper and a pencil and write it down. You know what I mean? Shut up after the game. It's too late. The boys will talk. Nothing you can say, especially if you've lost, nothing you say will make sense, because they're all at got different mindsets. He played well, but we lost. He was crap and we lost. They're thinking on different planets. So don't go in there thinking you're going to solve the problem. You're not. Shut up. Say, see you Tuesday, and leave. Let the boys live with the disappointment and the ecstasy. Do you know what I mean? And don't just join in when you win. Don't join in at all. Let them wallow in all their fame and fortune. That's a lesson I learned. It sat well with me. I didn't feel I had to be there to say anything straight after a game.
That's an interesting one. It's a very, very interesting answer. And it kind of makes me feel like it might be a little related. The fact that I was surprised at that answer might be related to, I've grown up in a generation where you get participation ribbons and everything's okay. And everyone is shielded from any negative feelings ever, because that's bad. However, obviously, as we're about to get into, through adversity, you learn. Through adversity, you learn. Through adversity, you gain strength. And through failing, you write down what you did wrong. You know what to do better next time. And if someone says to you, don't worry, it's all okay, then why would you need to go out and change next time you're on the field?
I don't know. It's just, I just shake my head and go, you know what? Grow up. Get disappointed, get angry, get frustrated, feel all those emotions. Because you're going to have to do it in the big bad world outside of football, we're learning all those things all the time. Yeah, I agree. So many of us are protected. Put my arm around you. Don't worry. No worry. It's part of life, dealing with stress. They've got to deal with stress. I talk to these kids in high school, and all the teachers say they're not resilient. Well, I've just watched them prepare for that session, right, to get them into their seats. Alex, sit down. No, not that chair, Alex, the one next to it. Stop talking to Bill behind you. No, leave him. I'm thinking, there is no wonder teachers, some of them hate the job, because it's filling out forms, telling kids over and over and over again. Do you know what I mean? I wish when I walked into a room, and I'm sure the teachers do, they walk into a room and go, right, you got 30 seconds to sit down, ready, go. Let them work it out, what they want to sit next to. You got 30 seconds and count them down. 10. If you're not down 10 seconds, if you're not sitting down in 10 seconds, you do detention with me. 9, 8. Whoa, they're motivated. They're making the decisions. You know what I mean? So, and it's a hard lesson to learn, giving people ownership of it, your failings and your successes. One thing I will say, though, is tell them that they failed. They're not a failure. And they were successful, and they're not a success. I think that is where the balance comes in.
That is
over
huge.
Management. Oh, boy, it does my head in.
That's huge. That's a massive one. You failed, but you're not a failure. You've succeeded, but you're not a success. That's massive because, because we're talking business, to bring it back to business, the people, I've failed a lot of times and would have thought of myself as a failure for about 7 years straight. Not a good place to be in. Blaming myself. Really, really tough. I would never think of myself as a success. I think that was ingrained in me. However, with social media these days, all you see is the wins and the success for people. And I think that grittiness of life is fantastic. And it creates leaders and strong leaders, which is the style of leadership you're giving us today. I really, really resonate with it and appreciate it. So, Mr. Wade, the next chapter of your story is one that I know you've talked about a lot, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk to us about your same old stories. You've had 3 brain surgeries. You but you've been diagnosed with epilepsy. And I wanted to just start off by asking you, what do you remember about having a seizure on live TV, and how did that motivate you to be more open about this condition?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, what a moment. And I wasn't even there. And I'll tell you why. It was the middle of the MCG. The Socceroos had just played France in a friendly. I was told to go and interview the captain of the Socceroos. I went down. I asked him 3 questions. First question, not a problem at all. Then I start having my seizure. It's not an absence. It's not a tonic-clonic seizure. It's my voice became distorted. And as far as I was concerned, I was asking him a question. What people were seeing, including the captain of the Socceroos, was me smacking my lips. After that second question, I didn't give him the microphone, and then I gave it to him. He's answering that second question, and I take the microphone away halfway through his answer. So, and then the third question I asked as per normal. So for about 30 seconds, I had absolutely no idea. The look on his face, I felt sorry for him. I still feel sorry for him because he's thinking, he actually says it in the interview, you've taken the mickey out of me, because that's how it must have looked to him. But Mike Cockrell, God bless him, he's no longer with us, a journalist with the Sydney Morning Herald, travelled all over the world with the Socceroos. And he said straight away, he goes, I want to write an article about this. I want to set the record straight so that there's no, making things up or anything like that. I'll do an interview with you. I thought it's a bit embarrassing because I didn't know I'd had a seizure. And he said, he wrote the facts. This is what happened to Paul Wade. He was born with a mark on his front temporal lobe. This is what he had to deal with, having 5 seizures a day, tonic-clonic seizures where you fall over, split your head open, wet yourself if you need to go to the toilet. He's hidden that for years and years. The medication wasn't working. They took part of his brain out. It got infected. Well, this was a story after Mike wrote that article, but it was along those lines. Here, world, this is what Paul Wade's had to live with. Now, take it as you like, but that's his story. And you know what, Alex? I felt so much relief because you weren't going to solve my problem with epilepsy, but at least you now knew that when I wasn't feeling good, when I couldn't think straight, there was a reason for that. You would pick me up to take me to a football match to commentate. The director of the program saying to me, if you'd have told us, mate, we could have cut to a shot of the crowd, turned your microphone off, gone to a commercial break. I'll never forget him saying that to me, that, wow, people do have empathy. And I'd hidden it for years and years and years until I got caught.
Why did you hide your epilepsy for so long?
Embarrassed. I'm totally embarrassed. And when it first started I remember standing on the side of the street. I'd just taken the rubbish out. And for 30 seconds, I felt sick, hot, dizzy, and lonely. And I thought, must be the way my body's handling pressure. Maybe I've got an assignment at school. Maybe I was thinking all the time, it's you that's the problem. Or if it's not me, it happens to everybody. So suck it up. So, yeah, I lived with that guilt to a certain point that I wasn't, normal. So I did myself a favor and hid it from me.
And then the public perception after you announced it and came clean, what was that like?
Yeah, people were amazing. People, we do have our sporting stars do stupid, embarrassing, frustrating things, and then we forgive them. And we see people with disabilities and we help them out, and we have disorders and we help them out. We are very, very understanding. And I'm glad it is, because people look at my story now and get something out of it for their life. So I've got football and health stories that is reflected in everybody's life in some way, shape, or form. Because you might not have had your brain removed, but you have had challenges where you thought your whole world would come crashing down and you were totally embarrassed to tell everyone. Well, you know what? Nothing can surprise anybody today, because, well, maybe a couple of things, but we're all open to everything. And I think people have got to believe that. I lived it.
Mm. And that's beautiful, by the way. And how important do you think it is for leaders and people in the public eye or running a business to be open and honest with their flaws and the things that they're not proud of?
I think in today's world, you can't know everything. You might be the leader, but you can't know everything. And I think vulnerability is not a weakness. If you're vulnerable, people will help you. If you're looking to be an island on your own, people will go, well, you know what, Alex, if you can handle all this, off you go and do it. But if I see on your face you're struggling a little bit, I'll go, Alex, what can I do to help? Do you want me to do that research on Paul Wade? I can do that because you've got another hour speaking before him. I'll help you out. Nobody thinks any less of you. In fact, people think I've just helped the boss out. And they feel pleased with that. So don't go around banging your chest thinking you know everything. Hey, I had a boss come to me once. I don't know whether this is leadership. He goes, you can bring me any problem you like, as long as you bring me 3 solutions. And I thought, is he cheating as a leader, or is he just making sure that he gives me ownership and he feels a part of me making a solution? I don't know. Was he clever or a cheat and he got paid for doing nothing? I don't know. But it was an interesting fact. I've always remembered that.
Yeah, that's a really great way of I think it's a fantastic leadership style, that one, because he probably did have the solutions in his head, or at least one. But forcing people to do that, they'll probably get the job done before they even come to you in the first place, right?
Yeah.
It's saying if you haven't figured it out by the time you come up with 3 possible answers, then then maybe But most of the time, you're going to sort it out by yourself. That's fantastic. And then now, that is a funny one, because we're both dads, raising kids is a lot like having a team. And at the moment now, you told this great story at the beginning how your daughter started this gardening and landscaping business, and she's calling you to teach her how to what was it, how to take out a building block or something. Yeah. How to do all these gardening.
Very proud. Hey,
how to do all these dad jobs. And so I think at what point as a leader, as a captain, as a dad, as a boss, do you feel like it's the right time to step away and let someone figure it out by themselves?
That's I don't think there's a point. I think there's a process where you actually let them do that. And eventually they'll say, it's all right, Dad, I got it from here. The only thing I've done with my daughter's business, she got her NBN number. She got her, or is it her ABN number or a BBN number? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And she designed the logo, and she got the flyers, and she's done everything. The only thing I've come up with so far is the name of her company. And you know what? I feel so clever to have done it. It's called this, because it's gardening, right?
Yep.
It's Way to Go. Way to Go. How good is that?
Love it. Love it.
How good is that?
Love it.
But that's the only part I played in this whole process, because she worked at Channel 10 and she worked in theatre. She's a design theatre for theatre and television. That's what her education is at university. So she's had to go to Wagga Uni on her own, and she makes vats of spaghetti bolognese sauce, because you're not exactly rich when you're going to uni, are you? You've got to make ends meet. So she would make it like that, and then every day stick a bit in a bowl, put some pasta in, and that was a meal. So she's learned, you don't just go, bang, it's all up to you. They learn that from, as I say with those kids, this is what I want done, and this is how long you've got to go before you've got to get it. Boom. Let them work it out.
Yeah, I love it. I like to think I'm going to be that sort of parent. I like to think I'm that sort of boss as well. And the way you said it before, when you said, if you give someone a task and you're a vulnerable boss and say, I need help, them being selected gives them such a sense of pride and responsibility as well. Just like when you're a kid and dad says, can you hold this tape measure for me? That sort of thing. Can you carry the nails or whatever?
Yeah.
Can you help me park? Like, reverse me in. You feel like a freaking superstar. And and so positive reinforcement just through giving that extra bit of responsibility, you feel is a really good technique for creating motivation in a team.
Yeah, and tell them you're proud of them too. I think that's so important. You know, I'm proud. Saying I'm proud of you is more valuable than saying well done, because well done gives something closure. That's it. Well done. So we'll move on. I'm proud of you gives them a chance to take in what they thought worked well for them, and when it didn't, how they're going to solve the problem. So a simple, I am so proud of you, Alex, for doing this. Well done, Alex. You're the one who drove this. I said, well done. Sorry, I'm very proud of you, Alex. It's hard not to say that, isn't it? We all like to go, well done.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being on a football field and going, hey, Johnny, really proud of the way you won that tackle? No, that's not going to work. You are just going to get the message across short and sharp, quick as possible.
I get it. Well, you're in a very different environment these days to what you were, I'm going to say 30 years ago, at the peak of your career in football. Now you're at the peak of your career in a different sense. It's fantastic talking to you, mate. I can't leave without just begging you just to give us a little bit of a Diego Maradona story before you go, because we all know Diego. We all know Maradona. I'm English. We all know about the hand of God and the controversy that surrounds that name. So I feel like I'm now 1 degree of separation away from that man who destroyed my country for years.
That's it.
Mr. Wade, what can you tell us about Diego Maradona?
Yeah, he's up there looking at you going, Alex, you sucker. Have you not got over that yet? I was being creative. It wasn't my fault we scored. The referee didn't give it. That's his job to disallow it. That's the sort of stuff he came out with.
He would.
Just his explosive speed, not looking at the ball when it's coming to him at all different angles and still being able to control it, like catching it in your hand. It was so simple for him. But I'll never forget, after the game, we went, there were lots of tears, like Robbie Slater, Graham Arnold. We were all realizing that, that could be our last chance to qualify for the World Cup. And so the handshakes are going on, and we went into the dressing room. There was deathly silence. No, nobody said a word. Why would you? First person to talk, you're just going to get hammered. So shut up and don't say a word. Anyway, the assistant coach came over and whispered in my ear, we need to go and do an interview live on the radio, on the TV. I thought, I'm feeling gutted, we just got knocked out of the way. He said, no, seriously, we got to go. Dragged me out. We went to the TV station. I sit down. There's a panel. The host of the TV station says, so how much do you earn? And I went, what? He goes, the point he was trying to make was Argentina, potential world champions, were almost knocked out of the World Cup by part-time footballers. A lot of us were part-time. They beat us 1-0 to get through to the World Cup, and we scored the goal for them. That's the whole gist behind his question. Next minute, the floor manager, the cameraman, the other panelists, they're all going, really? What? There's lots of whispering. And Maradona had rung up and they put him to air. And like they said to us after, we have never, ever had that before. They put him to air. He said, congratulations, through an interpreter, obviously. Congratulations for your performance. He said, your tears of sorrow today will be tears of joy sometime soon. Now, that was in 1993 for the 94 World Cup. And we didn't qualify until 2005 for the 2006 World Cup. But everyone was saying that has never happened before. That is an amazing pat on the back for you. And I've always thought, you know what? I watched an interview and he said, you will never know what it's like to live my life. You see the drugs and you see all the scandal, but you can go to the shops. You can go out for a meal. I can't go anywhere. And I thought, yeah, sometimes he comes across as that arrogant person, but deep down inside, he was just a bloke with a real gift, a talent, and he made it work, and he was humble as well.
That's a fantastic story and very, very good messages. Your tears of sorrow today will become tears of joy one day. I can't think of a better place to wrap it up. Mr. Paul Wade, thank you so, so much for giving us your time today.
It's a pleasure.
It truly was a pleasure. And I will be very, very excited to release these clips, all over the internet as much as we can, just to show the world what a fantastic man we have had. What a fantastic man you've grown up to be.
Oh, yeah. Don't say well done. Say, I am really, really proud of what you've done, Paul.
We're all very proud of you, Paul. We're all very proud of you.
I'll leave you with a dad joke if I can.
Please.
Can I?
Please.
I haven't told you this one, have I? Am I? Because I'm I love dad jokes.
Please bring it on.
Somebody complimented me on my parking the other day. They put a little note on my windscreen. It said, "Parking fine." That's nice, isn't it?
Parking
That's nice.
fine. Just fine. Well done. Well done. I'm going to be using that one. My daughters have years of hell ahead of them in the dad joke scene.
Look, if you need any feedback on what a real dad joke is, just run it by me. If I laugh, bingo.
100%.
If your daughter doesn't, bingo. Tick.
I think you should start an app. The Paul Wade dad joke app. Everyone can just pull it out of their pocket. You got the name to launch it. I think that could be the next step for you. If you need marketing, let me know. Paulie, Mr. Wade, what a pleasure to be able to call you an acquaintance and hopefully even a friend. Everyone,
absolutely.
Thank you, mate. Everyone,
keep up the good work. You're doing a fabulous job.
I'm doing my very best. Paul. Thank you so much.
See
Everyone
you.
listening, thank you so much. And anyone watching live, thank you once more. I'll be back in a few days with another episode of Coaches to the Moon. Much love.